Oh, there is an insurmountable pile of things here. A lot of content, a lot of content. Let's do this thing. Hey guys, I'm Bella, the Maker Mama Boss Lady behind Fiber and Fox, and this is episode 68 of my podcast. It's been a little bit. So let me just reintroduce myself if you're new here. Like I said, I am Bella. I am a crochet designer. I actually have crochet design content this episode, which is super exciting. I also knit, and occasionally I sew and do other crafty bits. And I talk about all of it here with you. I haven't recorded a podcast, I think, since November. I had a couple like one-off episodes involving some advents and yarn dyeing and some other bits in December, but my channel just always gets drowned out by Vlogmas, so I don't even bother recording a podcast. Vlogmas is not something that works for our family. I like to really slow down and focus on being at home and present with my family and my children. I am a homeschool mama as well, and I don't share my kids on the internet, so vlogging our homeschool life feels not right for me. So anyway, I don't Vlogmas, and anything that's not Vlogmas just gets buried in December. So it is now the 30th of December 2023, and you'll be seeing this in 2024, so Happy New Year. And I have like so much content, like so much content. I really don't remember where I left off with you guys. I think I was working on Christmas photo making, so if I can find a picture where I can like shield my kids' faces or whatever, I will pop in a photo of all of our Christmas photo makes, done, finished, beautiful. And I've been working on all sorts of things since then. I've got Christmas gift projects, I've got some random baby makes, I've got some also just like designs, so much. A ranunculus, gotta talk about that. Yeah, I have more content than I really know how to cover right now. So I suppose we ought to dive in. I don't have any major admin to cover. I guess I will tell you what I'm wearing is the Salvi by Jennifer Steingass, and it is one of my proudest makes to date. We had talked about it a whole bunch, I think, in the previous episode, which I can link, card, whatever for you, but go back. But I'm absolutely in love with it. The only thing I will say, absolutely love the yarn, which is Blue Sky Fibers Wool Stock Light. It definitely pills. Because it is a super, super fine Highland wool. It is delightful to wear, but pilling because of the super fine qualities of it, which I think means it has shorter staple lengths or something. I really don't know how they decide between like merino and superfine merino, Highland wool, superfine wool. I'm not really sure what the qualifications are, but I know that the superfines pill more. So I'll just have to depill it. Other than that, absolutely in love with this. Let's get into some crochet designing though, because we haven't talked crochet designing. 2023, backstory info on me. I'm a mom of two, like I said, homeschool mom, and so I'm at home all the time with my kids, and they are very much always present in my life, so recording and designing and all of that kind of gets backseat, which is one of the perks of being the Maker Mama Boss Lady, is that I get to make my own schedule and it works for me, and in 2023, designing just did not work for me. So I didn't get a lot of designing done. I released one pattern, cowl, back in like the spring. But I have to share with you a design that will be coming in 2024, Lord willing, and if the creek don't rise and whatnot, that I'm pretty excited about. These are not blocked yet. I need to block them, and I need to make, I think, 1 or 2 more samples, because this is going to kind of be a versatile pattern in that I'm going to put some specs in it for what yarns I used, and different yarn weights and different gauges that you could then customize to what you want, in length and size and whatnot. So this is a stitch pattern we're working with here. And like I said, this is a crochet design, and it is what I am tentatively calling a scarfy shawl. The scarfy shawl, a scarfy shawl. It might end up with another name eventually, but basically, you're probably aware that all of the knitters, if you are one, all the knitters be knit in tiny little, like, little scarfy shawls that look like you're gonna go get a croissant. Don't speak French, sorry. and like a fancy little cafe, and that you're wearing like a striped shirt. And I kind of want to take the pattern photos with like a black and white striped shirt on. But very much like I'm gonna go get a fancy pastry at a cafe somewhere in Europe. Scarf. Maybe not the warmest scarf, but a very fashioned scarf. So the knitters have been into those as of late. And I kind of wanted to create one in a crochet stitch that has a similar, not texture, but similar feel in what like knit garter creates. I'm not a huge fan of garter stitch, honestly. I have some garter in this podcast, which is really funny because usually I'm not into garter at all, but everyone's like, oh, it's so squishy, it's the texture, the bounce. Garter just always looks like a beginner project to me because that's what you learn on when you first begin. But I will say it is bouncy. And if you can get it consistent looking and whatever, maybe sometimes it looks pretty good. But knitters seem to love a garter project. Not usually me. But I was trying to find something that would mimic a similar feel. Let me show you in this one. This one's bouncier, so it's a thicker weight. We'll talk about the yarn in a minute. And I have to say, you're gonna have to deal with my busted finger. I shut it in a door like a month and a half ago, and my finger is just blackened. And could I nail polish my nails? Yes, but I am frightened by nail polish. Like I look at my hands and I'm like, no thank you. So that's another problem entirely. But this has a garter-like spring and squish to it, along with some, what I'm gonna call eyelets. They're not actually eyelets because it's crochet. I mean, could we still call them eyelets? I don't know. What qualifies an eyelet? I'm not sure. But this is a little scarfy shawl. So basically, my idea for the pattern is that you're gonna be able to, with any yarn quantity that you have and any yarn weight that you have, create, maybe not any yarn quantity, but a reasonable yarn quantity, create some sort of a scarf, shawl, headband, neck wrap, kerchief, tieable little squishy object that you could use one skein in your stash, special skeins for, or if you wanted a larger, like full-on shawl, you could use multiple skeins, tiny little leftover bits, make a little headband, make one little tie. So it really just depends on how much fabric you want to end up with and how much you want to tie, but this is the idea of it. So I'm going to put this one on and then I'll show you the other one because I've made two samples. So this is the concept. I have not blocked or woven in the ends on this yet, but we have a wee little scarfy shawl. Yeah? Okay. Oh, it's kind of cute with the sweater too. Might detract a little bit from the yoke, but kind of cute. So you start at one end and you do some increases, 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 increases until you get to about half of your yarn. And then you do some decreases, 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 decreases until you get down to another point. So I can't show you the whole shape, but it's basically, I don't know what shape we would qualify this as, but it starts out as a point and it gets wider on both sides and then it gets narrower on both sides. And this one is one skein of DK. And this is yarn that I dyed myself. I've never actually, this is the first time I've ever designed a pattern with yarn that I've dyed. Again, more backstory, I do a lot of natural dyeing. I am not a dyer by trade or anything. I don't sell the yarn, but I like to play around with natural dyeing, which we're gonna be talking quite a bit about in some further content today. But this is a skein that I dyed with, this is the other one, my Christmas tree from 2023. So we got a balsam fir this year, and I modified it with an iron dip post dyeing. So I did 2 DK weight skeins in case I wanted to make a giant shawl. Not giant, but larger. But then I was kind of actually really pleased with the size that one skein of DK yielded. It can be really hard with crochet patterns in particular to find one skein projects. And I do have 2 cowls, the one skein Wonder Cowls, DK and fingering weight in my pattern shop. If you're looking for a great one skein project, great gifting, great special skein, great easy, repetitive, addictive project. Highly recommend that. But this was another, like, I wanted to see what we could work up with one skein. So I'm going to include in the pattern, I think, just the gauges that I worked at and a general like row count, like this is how far I went, but please weigh your yarn or be aware how much yarn you have and manage accordingly. And yeah, you can really make it as big or as small as you want. So this wraps the fingering weight one, which is in some leftover from when I made my Fields cardigan. This is Fiber for the People yarn in the colorway Chili. And this is a, I think, super fine merino. I don't know if it's superwash or not. think it's 100% superfine, non-superwash merino. And then this one is a superwash merino nylon DK. So this one I can wrap 3 times. I'm just gonna leave this on, I guess. It's kind of cute. This one I can wrap around like 3 times. Can you see the ends? No, you can't. There are ends. And a stitch marker with the box. That one I can wrap 3 times, and the DK one, I'm gonna put it over top. The DK one I can wrap like comfortably twice. Or if you want it to get really snuggly, I guess you could stretch it and wrap it 3 times. I promise this does, this has a very long end. Because this is how much yarn I had. This is preposterous looking, yes. This is how much yarn. Because I really wanted to test my yarn management skills as far as writing the pattern. So this one I can go around twice with the DK. And then I have another skein of like a bulky, or don't wear 2 of them. But I have another skein of bulky that I would like to make my daughter one in and just kind of get a bulky or worsted weight gauge for the pattern if you wanted to do that. For a child, you could probably get 1 skein. I'm totally ensnared now. 1 skein, but for an adult size, you would probably need 2 skeins, if anything more than a DK if you wanted to really wrap it. Or you could make it just a single tie with no wrapping, or a little headband, or something like that. So yeah, that is my plan on this. I need to actually write up the pattern. I keep it all in like a notes doc, Google Doc on my phone, and then I pretty up the pattern. I would love to do a tester call in February. And this should be a pretty straightforward pattern because it's just get started and then increase and then decrease basically to whatever size you want. And I'm gonna hopefully have some wiggle room on the testers as far as what yarns you're using and how big you wanna make it, because I would like to see it in a variety of ways. So I'm kind of excited about this. This is not my usual neckwear. I'm usually very much a cowl kind of person. But I think I like it. And again, I just wanna go put on like a striped shirt and stand outside like my friend's coffee shop and just be fancy, because that's just what it feels like to me. But yeah, so it's just a little scarfy shawl. So I'm very excited about that. And I love the texture. I'll show you again. This is, oh, my nail is so jacked up. This stitch I use in both my Dandelion Dance shawl and my Graynbow shawl. I really like the little peaky archway eyelets that it makes. And then this is just my little garter knockoff with, it's got a good amount of squish to it. And yeah, it's just a really, this kind of reignited my love of crochet, a really addictive, repetitive, and it's nice because you break up between the like garter-ish rows and the eyelet-ish rows. So it's not too repetitive and that you're sick of doing the same thing over and over again, and it came along super fast. I frogged them a couple times trying to get the right size and width and increases, so I can't really say how long it took me, but pretty quick project. And great use, like I said, for single skeins. So I will keep wearing that, I guess, and I will keep you posted on where we land on tester calls. I had somebody ask recently, I do tester calls on Instagram when I do calls. Tester calls on Instagram, and I also send them to my mailing list, which is linked down below, and I should say everything you need to know about me, as well as links to anything I'm going to mention in this video down below in the down bar. You know how we do it. I usually put show notes up on my blog, and then there's links to my shops and my Instagram and my all of the places down below. So if you're familiar with podcasts, you kind of know how it works, but I feel the need to tell you. I'm probably also supposed to tell you to like and comment and subscribe and those sorts of things, but you do what you will. You're grown up, I assume. So yeah, that's my scarfy shawl, crochet design. It just feels good to be designing. And this isn't even like the most complicated. I've had fear of trying to wrap my mind around garments recently just because there's so much putting stuff down and grading and note-taking and all that, but this seems manageable, bite-sized crochet design. So hopefully in 2024, we'll be seeing that. I like it. I hope you like it too. I want to tell you about my ranunculus. And do I keep project pages on Ravelry? I do not. But do I frequently text, and by frequently daily, text Emily of Rambling Yarn, because she is my bestest yarn friend. Do I text her all of my yarn woes? Yes, yes I do. So I'm trying to find all of our rants about ranunculus, ranunculi, ranuncia, whatevers, that we've talked about as I was making mine. Because I had a lot of feelings. Okay. All right, so I got some information here. because I didn't write any of it down. And it feels like I made this a really long time ago. And also don't hang your handmade sweaters on hangers because it's a terrible idea. But I need to show you, so we're gonna do this. This is my ranunculus. You've probably heard about this pattern. You've probably seen this pattern more times than you care to. You probably don't want to hear another person talk about this pattern. But yes, I jumped on the whole ranunculus train. This is the ranunculus pattern by Midori Hirose, Knit Cafe Midori, I think. And it's been around for a while now. Like, I don't even know how long, but this pattern has got to be like the most made knit thing on all of Ravelry. It has a bazillion project pages, and that's, you know, only the people that made project pages. But it's a circular yoke that also incorporates some raglan shaping in the body. And it's kind of another one of those patterns, similar, not similar, but in the same idea that it provides different gauges and you can work it in different yarns, and it's worked on large needles, and everyone just seems to love it. Everyone seems to be making like 15 of them and modifying this and that and the other thing, and it's just everyone's favorite pattern, so it seems. I am not a circular yoke person, and I'm not generally a loose gauge kind of person, but I had wanted to try this, and I actually had some special yarn set aside in like a deep, almost black purple, kind of a more luxury yarn that I had been holding out to make this in, but I wanted to make a trial version before I made the fancy mohair luxury version. So I made this in some yarn that I was gifted by my neighbor, or hand-me-downed by my neighbor. And she gave me just a multitude of skeins of it. I don't even know how many I started with, but I made the Highland sweater for my daughter for the Christmas photos. And then I figured because it was free and I had so much of it, and I don't dislike it, I don't love it, but I don't dislike it. I think it's discontinued probably, but it is Patton's Promise. And it is a 75% acrylic, 30% nylon, but very mohair-esque. It's got that, and the red is having a hard time, but it's got that halo-y mohair-like quality to it. And I believe it's a worsted weight. I don't know if it says on here, but I had probably more than 10 of these 40-gram balls. And after finishing my daughter's, I was like, it'd be really cute if we had matching sweaters, and I can try out the ranunculus in this, see how I feel about it, if I'm gonna like the fit before I commit to doing it in the mohair, which I know I won't really be able to frog back because mohair kind of felts itself as you work. So I made it, and I don't hate it, but I don't love it, which I feel like we need to talk about because I think everyone is just singing the praises of this pattern, and I do not understand why. And neither does Emily. She's ranted about it on her podcast as well. So yeah, it's oversized. I did modify mine. Let's see. So I made, let me look at my notes here to Emily. Oh man, it's re-scrolled. Hang on, let's find it again. Okay, so I know mine is a size 3. And I did it on 10.5s. No, that's Emily's. Hang on. I made the size 3, but I did it on size 9s. And I think the pattern, I don't remember the details. I will put some notes up on the screen about what the gauge called for in the pattern is and what needle size you knit it on. And I believe it's about 10 or more, maybe, positive ease. Inches recommended. That was a weird way to phrase that sentence. And I generally like positive ease. I actually, 10 inches is usually right about where I love. And this has got a little bit more than that. But I do not like the fit of yokes on me generally, because my like bust to upper arm ratio, it ends up being so that there's just too much arm fabric, and I know I could adjust and move stitches around and whatever, but I don't want to have to think that much when I'm not designing a pattern. I kind of just want to follow the pattern as far as the math goes usually. And then this I thought maybe would provide a better fit because it goes from the yoke into some raglan. So the peculiar part about the pattern is that it's like a one size fits all on the top, on the yoke. There's a couple options for the neckline, like a wider and a narrower neckline. And I believe I did the narrower one. And then this whole yoke portion, which everyone claims is like so addicting and amazing. And honestly, I like it. And my son thinks it's just fantastic to stick his little fingers up into these little crisscrossy stitches and pull those. But I don't love it. it's not the most fascinating thing. And I have a bit of, I don't know if you can see, just a tiny bit of like ruffling in that maybe as I changed out of the yoke into the other needles. I don't think I changed needles. Maybe I should have changed needles. Maybe I should have done the yoke on a larger size because there's a little bit of ruffling. But I thought that with that raglan increases, the fit might be better on me than a standard yoke. This is the first yoke sweater that I've made that really fits me well. So I'm probably gonna stick with her patterns from henceforth. But yeah, so you do the yoke, one size fits all. And if you've looked on Ravelry or anybody else's podcast, like it hits people in different spots because it's a one size fits all yoke. So some people it's a much deeper yoke. Some people it like stops up here. And then you do these raglan increases until you get to your like body stitch count for your body. And then it has you knit like 4 inches from the underarm, which for me, that's like that much. Do you see? I have a very long torso. So that would be like the recommended amount of torso before the ribbing. And it has a significant amount of the ribbing on the bottom, but it's a very short cropped, oversized, weird shape. So I added almost double the amount of torso length, and it's still not a long sweater on me. It hits me like at the top of my jeans. And yeah, it's just a weird fit. I'll put in some B-roll so you can see how it fits me. I don't love it. And the yarn already was not my favorite. I do like the color. It's not my usual red. This is, you can see, I don't know. This is more red that I'm comfortable with. This is more like true Christmas red probably. With, I would say, a blue undertone, whereas this has more of a red orange undertone. I don't know how to do undertones. I like this one better. But my mother and father both claim that this red is fantastic on me and great with my hair and whatever. I think it washes out my face. It makes my face look weird. I don't know. Yeah, I don't love it. And I don't think I'm going to make the second one in the other yarn that I have. So now that's set aside for something else. But so many people have made this and loved it. And recently Nora, also known as Nora Knits, made one in like a linen cottony silk yarn or something. And I loved that one. It was like a citron-y green, loved it. And that was really what pushed me over the edge to finally being like, yes, I'm gonna make this. The fit on her is gorgeous and like blousey, and I don't know, combination of the yarn that I don't love, the fit that I wasn't already sold on, the weird one size fits all yoke, the strange body proportions. Like, it's a very customizable pattern, I guess. And honestly, it wasn't the most intuitive either. The pattern has been released in a ton of languages. And it reads very much to me like a pattern that was not originally written in English. I'm not sure what the original pattern was, but some of the way that things are said isn't quite standard. Like, she doesn't say beginning of round, she says like end of row or something. End of round, some other terminology that isn't like the standard. So just things like that. And then the way that this whole yoke section was described, I had to go watch somebody else's tutorials to figure it out, which is a whole separate rant. How do we feel about tutorials put out by another maker for someone else's pattern? Because honestly, I needed those to get through this. And everyone says it's such an easy pattern. It just wasn't intuitive for me, the way that she was describing things. And she has videos that you can find in the Ravelry page, but they are just her hands. There's no speaking because the pattern is in so many different languages. So she shows you how to do it, but it's not necessarily the stitch counts that you're working with at that time. And like this crissy-crossy thing happens a bunch of times and has different like stitch intervals on it. So the video may not correspond with the part that you're on, and like that's not really specified. So there is a separate channel, probably multiple channels, that have put out tutorials on not start to finish how to make the ranunculus, but all the pieces that you're gonna need. So I followed some great videos by Sun Dragon Knits, I think. I can link that as well. But there's this weird, like, this doesn't feel right. Like, why is she making videos and content? And obviously, I'm assuming her channel's monetized and whatnot, and then making money off of someone else's pattern. So from my perspective, if somebody did that for, say, like my dandelion dance shawl, I have some video tutorials on the parts that I felt like needed videos, but there's a lot of stitches in that. And a lot of not unique, but more unusual crochet stitches and maybe techniques. And I would feel really weird if someone put out like a start to finish, like here's how you do each section of the Dandelion Dance shawl. And in the video, she's not giving like stitch count. She does reference sizes and stuff like that. And honestly, if you like, she does like the cast on technique and then all of the neckline stuff and then the short rows and then how to do these specific yoke stitches and the raglans and she provides a tutorial for literally everything in the pattern, the I-cord, in which all of those things you could find separately except for maybe those yoke stitches because those are kind of specific to the Ranunculus pattern. But it's almost like she's put out a start to finish free tutorial on how to make this pattern. You still need the stitch counts and I think maybe the gauges. But yeah, that kind of just doesn't sit well with me. I'm not wholly against it, but it feels different than doing like a how to do an I-cord tutorial where it's kind of like public domain. These are things that people are searching. We're searching how to make the Ranunculus is going to yield you her videos. So how do you feel about that? I'm curious. Let me know if you've ever followed a supplementary non-sanctioned by the pattern maker video. And those pop up a lot with very popular videos or videos or patterns that might be in a different language. People put out videos for them. And that just feels weird to me. And I was trying to think about like, is it like putting out, cause people do like music covers or like tabs for like someone else's song or like a chord chart or something. Is it like that? I don't think so. It still feels very much like you're benefiting off of someone else's pattern. And that's weird to me. But that was a very long Ranunculus rant. A very long way of telling you I don't think I'm going to be making more Ranunculuses. Yeah. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I'm gonna wear it. I wore it for Christmas. I wore it with like a little tight pencil skirt and some boots. And I've worn it a couple times. But it's not what I wanted it to be. And I don't want to use my fancy yarn on it. So for a free project, other than buying the pattern, I guess it works. But if I were to make another one, I would be seriously modifying. I already had switched the gauge. I'd probably do it at even tighter gauge. I would not probably do this balloony sleeve situation. I would probably do ribbing on the cuff. I would make the body longer, narrower. So I would basically be re-engineering the whole pattern. And I don't care to do that. So I'm curious if this is one that you have made. Did it make you a convert? Are you a believer in the Ranunculus? Because I am just not there. So we're gonna put that away. And I would love to know your thoughts. I've heard so many people rave about this pattern. I have not had a lot of people say, this thing fits weird. It's got weird dimensions. Like 12 inches of positive ease with like 4 inches of armpit depth. What is that? That wouldn't even hit the bottom of my rib cage. That's not even cropped. That's like not even clothing. So I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say about that. This is gonna be a long episode because we're already at a half hour and I have so much more to show you. Let's do a victory project. Some projects that I'm feeling really good about. You haven't seen them yet, but they are in completion and they are exceptional. Going back to my roots, let me show you what I made my daughter for Christmas. If you saw the cover photo already, you probably know what I'm talking about, but how good are those? If you are unfamiliar and you are not a product of the 90s like I am or someone with children now, this is Sonic the Hedgehog. He is a video game character. And this is his friend, his little brother, like, I honestly don't know anything about Sonic other than what my daughter has told me. I grew up without video games. My husband, very much the opposite. He's reliving his childhood with my daughter, but this is Tails. He's his friend that looks up to him. He's a little fox. So yeah, Sonic and Tails. Going back to my roots. I started out back, 10, 12, like 12 years ago, almost. No, 12 years ago, about. When I started out crocheting, I was doing animal hats, character hats, and amigurumi. And I did it for a long time at markets, and I sold them, and let me just tell you now, let me give you this disclaimer. I am not selling these. You should not sell these because you cannot sell licensed characters legally. So this falls into like the fan art category. Made these for my daughter, gonna share them with you. There is no pattern. I am not selling a pattern. I'm not selling the hats. I don't care what you pay me. I'm never making another one of these. Yeah. Labor of love. But I was very good at character knockoffs back in the day. And I'd say I did a pretty good job on these. So if you wanted someone to sell you licensed characters, I'd probably be great at it, but I'm not going to, because I'm not going to risk my business on that. And also it is so much effort. I used to do like a lot of custom. I used to be Bella's Custom Crochets before Fiber and Fox, and I did a ton of custom, like, hey, can you make my son this random thing that he's obsessed with? And I would, and it would be great. But redesigning every single item from my imagination off of characters I maybe didn't even know who they were, was a ton of work, and a ton, like, the monetary value of that was never made back. So this is not something I do anymore, but if you have the same last name as me, you get whatever you want. So Sonic the Hedgehog it is. And the backstory here is that when my husband was little, he was very into Sonic. It was his favorite as well. And my daughter is 5, and she is very into it now. By way of my husband, we are pretty much low screen time family, little to none. But my husband will play a little bit of Sonic or some sort of nostalgic video game with her on weekends, and if you talk to her, you would think that she plays video games like 48 hours a day. It's very, very, something that she's very invested in. So she wanted a Sonic costume. And yes, we did a full costume. I will share that with you shortly. Because when my husband was little, his mom had made him like a felt mask and full costume for Halloween. Halloween is not something we do, but we have plenty of dress up and whatnot. And so yeah, my daughter wanted a Sonic costume for Christmas, and my mother-in-law didn't save the Sonic, so I had to start from scratch. I was gonna go all out. I was gonna make a great Sonic, and Tails was a bonus for the little brother. But yeah, this was all done in secret while she was sleeping at bedtime and whatnot, as children do. They sleep at night, you hope. And this was a labor of love. He is incredibly detailed. And I will have to put in a picture of the full outfit. So I bought like a hoodie. I painted the hoodie pocket to kind of look like Sonic's stomach. I didn't want to make a whole like hand-sewn outfit, and I didn't want to make something that couldn't be used as like regular clothing. So I did buy like some sweatpants and a hoodie and kind of convert them into a Sonic costume. And then I knit little leg warmers, because Sonic has, I should have grabbed one of her toys to show you. I'll put a picture of Sonic up. You know who Sonic is. He has like little saggy socks that kind of slump over the tops of his little sneakers. And then I bought some red sneakers and created, I was pretty proud of the engineering on this, created a strap that can come on and off that looks like his little white strap and big yellow buckle. So she can still use the sneakers for functional sneakers, but she wants them to be her Sonic shoes. And then a little strap that slides on and off, so she can still wear the sneakers but be Sonic if she needs to. And I opted for the leg warmers instead of the knitted socks, just because knitted socks in athletic sneakers didn't seem very comfortable. So it just has a slumpy little leg warmer, this full blue outfit, and this hat. I didn't make the full outfit for my son. We'll talk about Tails in a minute. But let's talk about this Sonic, because whew, this situation back here is giving like Ahsoka vibes. Did this bring me to a state of crying? Yes, it did. Was I crying one night? And my husband was like, I don't think you need to be crying about this. No, this is gonna break me. I could not figure out how to make this shape. It's a very specific curved hedgehog spike that I've never met a crocheted shape before that I could not make. And I could have figured it out eventually, but I was trying over and over and over again, and it was not like, I would ask my husband, and I was comparing pictures on like Google Images and trying to get it just right, because I knew she would be a critic. So I wanted it to be just perfect. And I ended up like searching. I was looking at other hats and other amigurumi and other shapes and like how they had done it, and I could not find one that I liked. And we were like, well, we could sew them, we could like do felt on the back, there was a lot of options, but I ended up finding one pattern. I believe it was a free pattern, but it was in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. I speak enough Spanish to go to a restaurant in a Spanish-speaking country and order food and tell them I'm a vegetarian. Like, I'm good at that. I've been to multiple Spanish-speaking countries and have, like, understand Spanish spoken to me pretty well. Cannot speak Spanish. And my husband was like, well, just throw it in Google Translate. It's fine. But you're not translating Spanish, you're translating Spanish crochet. So abbreviations and terminology that is specific to crochet, just like knowing how to read a crochet pattern is a whole separate pattern, whole separate language. Reading a Spanish crochet pattern is another language entirely. So I was like Google translating words like increase and stuff that I wasn't sure what they were, and then I was piecing together. I think I looked up a couple different like crochet abbreviations in Spanish, and I was able to figure out, okay, this is how she's doing the shaping. So I will credit that pattern. I don't remember what it was called. But yeah, it's entirely in Spanish, and it's for an amigurumi, so it's not even for a hat. And I think the gauge was totally different, but I was able to make it work so that this fits. Let me put it on for you. This is a great look, this outfit I have. Whew. It's a little tighter on me than my daughter, but like, y'all, that's Sonic the Hedgehog. And it's slightly heavy because I did stuff these, but it's not like Alert the Chiropractor heavy. So I made these spikes. I ended up running out of the yarn that I was using. I had gotten, early in December, I had gone to Joann and I was like texting my husband pictures of like shades of blue and orange and yellow, trying to find just the right one for Sonic and Tails. And I was using Big Twist. I don't know if this one was, yeah, this is Big Twist Varsity Blue. I had gotten one skein of the blue, one skein of the orange, and I had not considered how much yarn usage these spikes were going to require. So I don't know if you can tell, these two are a different yarn. I had to go back and they were completely out of stock, and there was one like 45 minutes away from me, but it wouldn't ship in time, so I would have to drive to go get the yarn, and it was like yarn that cost like $2, so I wasn't going to do that. So this one is Red Heart. These two are Red Heart, and then yeah, you can see it's slightly different, but it's close enough. But yeah, it wasn't going to ship in time for Christmas, so they're sisters, not twins. But other than that, everything came together great. And one of my strong suits from when I did characters was always felt faces. So I got the Sonic face pretty good, I think. And he's got the little three-dimensional nose and the little smirk that he's known for, and little ear flaps and tassels. And I'm really proud of this. Never, ever, ever do I want to make another one of these, but I'm really proud of it. And like I said, no pattern, other than the shaping for the spikes, which was smaller for actually an amigurumi. But if you want a Sonic, you're gonna have to go make your own Sonic. But yeah, so that's really cool. And then for her little brother, I thought it would be appropriate to make a Tails as well. And this one, it's a little big on him, and I figured she might wanna swap in and out with him too. Tails has like these big goofy eyes, and one of the things that bothers me about like cartoons, this is so ridiculous looking, is when they don't have like consistent, I don't watch anime or anything, but like anytime I look at anime, everybody has like different eyes, and it bothers me. So Tails and Sonic have totally, completely different eyes. And Tails has like these crazy eyes. It just looks kind of funny on the rounded shape. But I'll pop in a picture of Tails as well so you can compare. But yeah, Sonic's face is less crazy to me. Tails just looks really enthusiastic, which I think he is. And I ended up wiring these little hair spikes so they have pipe cleaners in them so they stand up. His ears probably could have been slightly smaller, but he does have pretty large exaggerated ears, and then he's got these little tufty whisker things and this little dopey smile. And yeah, I'm quite proud of both of these for no pattern whatsoever on him, and then just figuring out how to do the hedgehog spikes. This was a lot of work late at night when I was already tired. And I think they came out pretty cool. So like I said, I didn't make a costume for this one, just the hat. But they're pretty cute together. I'm pretty pleased. Back to my roots, and it was a real fun refresher of what I love about crochet. Other than the spikes, being able to make basically anything that I want is really fun. And it just reminded me why I love crochet so much, because knitting, I'm a follow a pattern in knitting. I can follow a pattern great, like details, sure, I got it, but I can't make whatever shapes and pictures I have in my mind with knitting like I can with crochet. And crochet lends itself so well to characters. So I'm really proud of that. I don't think I'm going to be doing a lot more acrylic characters anytime soon, unless my kids end up being into something else next Christmas. But yeah, and my daughter wore the whole outfit to like Christmas Day family gatherings. And it kind of sparked a impromptu costume party from like all of her cousins. They went and put on dress up in costumes and stuff, and it was really fun. And she was low-key judging them for their store-bought costumes. But yeah, it felt good for everyone. Like, obviously knew it was Sonic. He's a well enough known character that everyone was like, whoa, Sonic, you're here. And then when they realized that I had made it, that was extra fun. So I'm proud of that. Now let's get back to knitting. I have another popular knitted object. This is the Oslo hat by Petite Knit, which I made completely incorrectly. And honestly, I don't think I love it. Again, I'm trying to find a beanie that I love. I really like for my husband and for my son. I haven't made one for my daughter. I made one for myself, my husband, and my son. The classic ribbed hat by Pearl Soho. It's a free pattern. It's great ribbed hat pattern. But everybody seems to love this Oslo hat, which kind of has like that Carhartt folded brim, double thickness, this is like quadruple thickness style hat. I don't look good in hats. I look like an egg. But sometimes when you go outside, you need hats. I look even more ridiculous when I have my glasses on with hats. So we're gonna take this off. This is a functional hat, but I don't actually like me in hats. But we do a lot of time outside and I don't want to freeze. So this is the Oslo hat mohair edition. There's like two, one that's I think fingering weight, maybe. And then this is a fingering and a mohair. And I tweaked the gauge a little bit because I was working with a skein of single ply that was gifted to me. And I don't have the original ball band by Dana of Blue Daffodil Crafts. She had sent it to me a while back. I had mentioned I was having a tough time and she had just sent me a little care package. And it was, I want to say maybe a Malabrigo brand, but I don't have the tag. I think somewhere I have a card from her that told me what it was, but she just thought it was the perfect color for me, and she was right, because mustard yellow is my favorite. And then I was holding it double with this random skein that I had gotten on clearance at a local yarn shop. Cessia Imperial. I'm assuming this is discontinued as well. I've never seen this before. It's 30% wool, 30% silk, and 20% cashmere. So it's kind of like it's a lace weight, like a mohair type thing, but it's a silk cashmere wool, which I really like. It was very nice. There were a couple places in the ball that had breaks, which I don't know what happened there. But it was a very nice yarn to work with, and I have just a little bit left. I don't know what I'd do with this amount, but if I could find more, I think I like that cashmere content, silk content, more than I do a mohair. But yeah, it still provides like a very similar halo. And I tweaked the gauge because I think I was working more with a like Sporter DK weight as the single ply skein, and then plus the lace weight. And I just did this completely wrong. So the idea of this hat is that it's got like this double folded brim that you then fold over the hat for like, at that point it's like 3 or 4 layers of thickness around your ears. And at some point in the pattern, so you knit like this, you fold it over, you attach it, and then you do this quick little mini short row to reverse your knitting, and it starts creating purl bumps. And I did not understand at all what was happening, and in my mind, something was wrong. So I started making the purl bumps, and then I was like, wait, no, that can't be right. And then I reversed it back again and kept going. But the purl bump was there so that when you turn it, that there would be stockinette, like continuous stockinette basically. So that when you fold it up, there wouldn't be pearls on the inside. So you basically start knitting in reverse on the inside of the hat, and you're supposed to keep going like that so that when you fold it, I can't explain it, and it's a paid for pattern anyway, but I did it wrong. When I fold it, I have this weird ridge. It's on the inside of the hat anyway, but Yeah, really, I should have folded it here. I don't know. I did it wrong. It works as a hat, but it was supposed to be, I think, taller and thicker and not have this bizarre thing that I created on the inside here. I realized what was wrong eventually, and I was like, oh, I get it now. And it's another one of those patterns that it's not super well explained, and I think I ended up looking up someone else's tutorial again. Because I was like, why am I knitting backwards on the inside now? What is happening? And it doesn't say like, so that you will have a smooth seam or so that you won't see purl bumps, or like, it doesn't explain it. It's just like, knit your rib, fold it in, connect it, or knit your hem cuff, your brim. Knit your brim, double knit, do the little connecty thing, and then start working backwards. In fewer, a little bit more words maybe, but I did not understand what was happening until well into the pattern, and then I was like, oh, I'm not frogging back. So it works. It's a hat, Oslo hat. I have the pattern now. I could make one for my son or something. I don't super love the decreases on it. It's very boxy. And I probably could have done a better job. It's a little sloppy. I haven't blocked it either. I don't think I've worn it either. It's been a pretty mild winter, but my thought was playing out in the snow and whatnot. This would be a good one to have. I love the color. Happy with the yarn. Not happy with my execution, and just I don't understand hats. So that's that. That's my Oslo hat. I'm just doing all the popular patterns and I just don't get it. I feel like a lot of times there's patterns that people have so much FOMO about, fear of missing out. And like, oh, everyone else has made this. Surely I will love one. And then no one wants to admit that they don't love it. Or maybe they're just process knitters and don't care about the end product. I don't know. But I'm here to tell you, there's a lot of petite knit patterns that I do like. I do not understand that hat. I do not understand the Ranunculus pattern. I don't get it. So those are my weird fad knits that I made. And I don't understand them, but I will use them. Now I have a selection of random baby things that I've just been cranking out and I would love to share with you. I apologize. This podcast is going to be long. Usually my podcasts are about 35, 45 minutes. This one is going to be well over an hour, and I'm sorry. But we're getting to the bottom of the chaos bin that we have. Yes, baby knits. We have a family friend who has welcomed a baby girl in their home, and it's like their third child, so they have both a son and a daughter and aren't lacking for much kid-wise. But I was like, do you need anything? Can I get you groceries? How can I help you? And she was like, actually, like, I, for whatever reason, don't have any newborn socks or newborn hats. Don't know what happened to them all, but I would love some hats or socks for her. I was like, girl, you have come to the right place. She wasn't even requesting that I make her handmade things. She meant like, can you go pick some up? And I did. I got her some store-bought ones and brought them to her. But if you ask the knitter and crocheter for things to make your head and feet cozy, you're gonna get them. So I made not one, but three hats. 3 hats and a pair of booties. So in, I guess, no particular order, I'll share. This one kind of came out as a set. They are not actually a set, but I made them in the same yarns, and I was just working out of stash because I was like, you need hats? I'm gonna make you hats right now. This is, I believe it's just called the garter bonnet, and I'll put the info up for you, but it is a sweet little pixie-like, it like makes a little point off the back. I took some pictures of my daughter's dolls. I'll put those in, because I don't have anyone's head this small, and it doesn't just look as cute. But it's a simple garter. Like I said, I was kind of feeling on the garter. I like the marled. I marled together this yarn, baby yarn that I had gotten at a local yarn store. It was my first time trying Sandus yarn, tin merino wool, which is thin merino wool as far as I know, in the color whatever that is there. So it was like a goldeny mustard color, and then I held it together with some, what is it? Something from Hobby Lobby that I had from a baby blanket. Bambootiful? It's one of the bamboo yarns. So this cream color by itself. I held it together with that. And it's a very simple garter bonnet. I added the little crochet edge to make the little scallops. And then it's got little I-cord ties. So that one's really sweet. And then I made in the same yarn combo these sweet little booties that I had made a pair last year for my son, and they didn't quite fit him right, and I ended up gifting he never wore them. Gifting them to my cousin who had welcomed a baby. These are a free little booty pattern. It's only in one size, but if you mess with the gauge and once you figure out how to make them, it's very easy to adjust the stitch count as well. So these I made at a tighter gauge than is recommended in the pattern because she's an itty bitty little tiny newborn. So these are like a newborn size. They won't fit for long, but I want her toes to be warm. I want her to be cozy. And they stay on pretty well because of the ribbed cuff. It's pretty tight. I mean, babies always be kicking off everything, but these are pretty good. I realize now that there is hair stuck in my wedding ring. Sorry if you saw that a bunch of times. But these are, I believe it translates probably to a baby house shoes. I'm not sure how to pronounce it in English. But the pattern is, again, in I think multiple languages. And it takes you to a free pattern on the website, and I think maybe German. And then you like click for the English version and it takes you there. So free pattern on like a blog, and they're just really sweet. Very simple decreases, little garter sole, and then just sweet, sweet little booties. And again, only one size, but easy. Actually, is there only one size? Yes, only one size as far as I know, but it's easy to customize once you figure out how to do it if you wanted to make them bigger or smaller. So this is a great pattern to have in my baby gifting arsenal. Definitely will come back and make more of these. Sweet little booties. And then I also made, this one was also free on a blog. I think it was just called Crochet Bonnet. But I made a little, it ended up looking more like a monkey by the way I did the ear placement. But I was thinking bear. But this is in some really old, which is super long discontinued line brand jeans is the cream color, and then the maroony purple is Hobby Lobby Soft and Sleek. So again, I was just stash diving. Made this cute little monkey bear hat with little, I didn't block any of these, so this has some curl to it. But once you tie it, whatever. Sweet little baby bonnet. And then this is my first time making this one. I think this is called the Newborn Top Knot Hat. Oh, actually, I should tell you, I wrote them down because I'm a good crocheter. But by now I've put it on the screen anyway, so don't worry about it. Never mind. I was going to tell you who they were by. But this one is by Amanda Murphy. And it's a little knotted beanie. And this one comes in, I think, a couple sizes. Maybe not. It's called the Newborn Top Knot Hat. This one was a paid pattern. But again, once you know how to do it, if you just tweak the stitch count, I think it was in a fingering weight and a DK weight version. Both newborn size. But again, it would be easy to modify if you just tweak the stitch count. So you knit a little beanie, and then you knit this little stalk thing, and then you tie it in a knot. Super cute. Fits really adorable. I feel like it would be kind of goofy on any of my children at this point if I made larger ones, because it feels very specifically newborn, but it's got these sweet little like spirally decreases and this little sprout coming off the top. So, and this is the Santa Scarn yarn just by itself. So yep, 3 hats and some little booties, and I'm gonna go drop these off to her in the next couple days because I love her and her family, and I love making sweet little baby things, and yeah, it's just darling, just cute. So I made those, and I think that's, oh no, I have one whip. That was all the finished objects. I've accomplished so much since we talked last. But I have a whip, and I need to share that with you because it's my hand-dyed rainbow. I promise we're nearing the end of this video, but we must talk about this. We must. This is my Daft Days cardigan by the Crayabea. It's a pattern that she released with Advents in mind, and if you watched my last naturally dyeing, I don't even know what I called it, a year of natural dyeing or something, last video where I talked about all the yarns that I dyed roughly in 2023 with plants and forage stuff and stuff from my kitchen and all of that, natural dyeing, stovetop, solar, all sorts of experiments. I had shown that I had dyed basically a whole rainbow. I added a couple since then. Basically a whole rainbow with the intent of making some sort of an Advent project, and then when I saw Rebecca release this, or start hyping the release of it, I was like, that's the one. So I am knitting the Daft Days cardigan. There is also a Daft Days shawl. The Daft Days cardigan is DK. So I'm holding my mini skeins double, and then I dyed some skeins of DK to use for the body or for the main color. But I believe the shawl itself is just fingering weight. And this looks much improved after blocking. Oh, it's so pretty. Oh, I love it. You can see the bottom is flaring. Maybe you can't see. The bottom, I had a panic and I ended up blocking it when I got to, I think, like this orange stripe because I was like, oh, this is too small. And I had done a gauge swatch and everything. But it blocked out correctly. So this is the textured pattern. It is a slip stitch pattern. So it's not the fastest going. It kind of just looks like a rib, but it is slip stitches. So you can see when I get to up here, it tightens up. And the shape just looks weird right now, but we will all block out to be just fine. But it's a cardigan, so it's worked flat. And I'm working with 14 colors. I may need to add a 15th. I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, the 11th color. So I have a couple more to go, and then it just repeats the colors throughout. But I dyed all of this yarn, guys, with plants. That's amazing. My one regret is that I don't have a true red, and that my blue, you can see I'm working with the blue now, is probably the least contrasty of all of them. So it's alternating these gray stripes and then a rainbow stripe. So this one, this green, not super contrasty, pretty low contrast, and then this blue, yeah, it's gonna be pretty. You can't really see because I haven't put the gray around it yet, sorry. But this blue here, it's kind of like a gray robin's egg sort of dusty blue. It's pretty similar to the main color gray. Like not when you put them next to each other, but they're not high contrast. But other than that, all of the colors have been just playing so well together. And it's a little rumpled now from being in the bag. But I made this little cheat card to keep track of not only the order of my colors, but what I had dyed them with. So I made this fun little color card, which is just super fun. But the main color, so this gray, I'm still on my first skein. This is the second one that I've caked up. I have 4. I'm a little bit worried about yarn management on this. Rebecca gives some details on, she also used 14 skeins and I think made a larger size than me. I don't even remember what size I'm making. 2, 3. But she used DK and then held, like I am, the mini skeins double. And I've weighed, and each stripe is about 4 or 5 grams. And they're 20 gram minis. And I'm holding them double. So each one is using about 4 to 5 grams. And there's like 1.5 color repeats in the body. And then the sleeves kind of change the order so that you use the yarns that you didn't use in the other half of the body. So it's all supposed to work out that I don't run out of yarn. But there are no guarantees. I may have to do some creative things on the sleeves at some point. But let me tell you, the main color is this. And I dyed this one with white oak acorns and then modified it with iron. And I did put a splash. You can see it's got a slight purpley hue to it. I was really excited to get a gray because I've been seeking gray for a while. And acorns do yield a gray. And I had just a splash of purple sweet potato. Made a really fun purple dye, but it wasn't super concentrated enough to dye by itself. It made a very pale color because I just had like the skin of one sweet potato that I chucked in a pot just to see what it would do. I actually had one explode in the oven and I was like, oh, dye. So I poured a tiny bit of purple sweet potato over the white oak acorn, and it gave just the slightest lavendery hue to it, which is super pretty. And then, let me see. I'm going to hold this up and then look at my lap as I talk to you to reference the colors. So this one is pokeberry. This is pokeberry with iron modified. This is red onion skins. This is yellow onion skins. This is a combo of exhaust bath of pokeberry plus some turmeric. This is all sorts of exhaust baths of autumn berries, wild grapes, and then some turmeric as well. This one I think is my most favorite, which was one of the last skeins that I dyed. It wasn't in that previous video. I'm hoping this is showing. Yeah, you can see me. This bright green is black beans plus baking soda and then some turmeric. The black bean created like a pink dye and then changed the acidity of the dye itself with baking soda, shifted to blue, and then I added the yellow to make a green. And I think this is super fun. This is a really fun green. And then, let's see, this is carrot tops. This is dandelions. This is the low contrasty one, dandelions. This dark green is my other favorite. It's hickory hulls and iron. And then this is the black bean blue. And then there's going to be these three on the bottom, which are pokeberry, wild grapes, and black huckleberry. So 3 more purples, and then it'll repeat over again. And I am loving this so much. I do not know, I feel like I need to get or make or something really special buttons. I'm pondering doing some sort of dried flower resin button, but that might be over the top. We'll see. Camera is demanding a battery change. Hang on, be right back with you. So I resat back down after putting in the battery, talked for about 6-7 minutes, never pressed record, so let's do that again. You know you've been talking for too long when your battery dies and you put a fresh one in at the beginning. But it's at least winter, so we're not overheating, so that's good. But I promise we are getting to the end of this. But I was saying buttons. I feel like it needs a special button. And I do have some dried flowers and could probably make some sort of resiny dried flower button. I've never done that before, but I know it's a thing people do. I feel like it just needs something that, or like I need to take a stoner wood carving or something to make a natural button to go with it, because it can't just have a store-bought button after hand dyeing the rainbow for the whole thing. So I feel like some flower bits or something in resin would be really pretty. It's already ridiculously juvenile, the whole rainbow situation, but I'm so proud of it. This is a year's worth of natural dyeing to get all of these colors, and then being able to get a gray that I like. And I was originally going to do it in a beige, and I'm so glad I went with the gray. And I really like that this gray is got some tonality to it, whereas this one that I did with the Christmas tree is more of a solid gray. Like it kind of, I don't want to say it looks store-bought, but it's very solid in hue. And this one has a lot more color depth to it, which also is going to help because I'm not alternating the gray skeins because it's just too much with the striping. I already have enough end management I'm going to have to do because of all the stripes. Yeah, so I'm not alternating the skeins, and I do have 4 separate skeins, and they're pretty similar, but, you know, different. So I just think overall, this is amazing, and I'm really excited. I love a graynbow, and this it'll match with anything, right? Because it's got every color. I'm just so proud of it. And I think I said it when I was rambling on about stuff and no one was listening. I was saying that I do like the back of it as well. It kind of blends the colors really well, which is why I think people do a lot of like fade patterns and reverse stockinette, or like the purl side, because the purl bumps, this is purling with slip stitches, but it just blends it in such a different way than it does on the front. But I'm sticking with the front. It's beautiful. I'm really proud of it, and it's a kind of a slow going project because of the slip stitches, and I had randomly put it down and started making baby items galore. But this is actually the only whip I have right now. Other than I want to work on another version of that crochet scruffy shawl thing. But I don't have any other major projects, and I'm not casting on any other sweaters or anything else. And after getting all the Christmas stuff done, there's like I put that pressure on myself to make Christmas gifts for my daughter, as well as all the handmade outfits for the photo shoot thing. That was all pressure I put on myself, but now there's just a sigh of relief of like, okay, we got through the Christmas making. There's like a meme going around that's like, I'm gonna take my most relaxing hobby and I'm gonna turn it into the most stressful thing, like that kind of thing. Yeah, knitting and crocheting is supposed to be a relaxing, no stress thing, but holiday time, if you're gift knitting, it turns a little stressy. But yeah, now I'm just gonna work on my daft days. I'd love to have it done. It will be done. My birthday's in February. I'd love to have it done for that. As kind of a happy birthday me, you made this rainbow piece. Like, it's just so great. I'm about halfway done on the body, so it's awesome. Oh, I love it. I really hope I don't have to play any ridiculous yarn chicken. I will be using this clip later if future me is weeping over the amount of yarn I have. But I could always add, I looked through my hand-dyed minis, and there's not any that I have that fit into the rainbow in contrast enough with any of the colors that are already there. I have very similar pinks and similar yellows and that sort of thing, similar greens. But if I had to add another one in the sleeve to like stretch the length, we'll figure it out. Or maybe I'll do bigger gray stripes in between I don't know, something. It's getting finished and I love it. So that is my daft days, and that is my last whip actual yarn on hooks or needles to share with you. I have lost my show notes. They are over here. Originally, I was going to do a giveaway in this video, but I'm going to do that in a separate video. So I'm just going to show you real quick. I'm going to probably record that one tonight. I do have a book review for this Knitting for Olive knit pattern book. It's absolutely giant and absolutely gorgeous. 20 modern knitting patterns from the iconic Danish brand. This was sent to me by the publishing house to do a review of and to give away one as well. So I'm going to do that in a separate video because I want to give this the time that it needs, and it's very beautiful. And I have a bunch to share with you. You see I got little notes on the top there. So I'm going to film that later. And then I have just a wee bit of Christmas acquirings, and then that is it for the day. We'll call it done. My mom got me this tote bag. It's obviously going to be a project bag. Could be like a library bag or something because it's nice and sturdy. What is jingling down there? What is jingling? Oh, I didn't even know this was in there. I never even saw it. Thanks, Mom. There's a fox. I should put this on my keys. A little fox, vintage, looks like a vintage drawing or something. I don't know where she got this one. I'll have to ask her. Very heavy little keychain. And then this little tote bag. I wonder if she forgot that was in there too. She didn't mention it. A sweet little tote bag with this little bird on top of the fox. Very sturdy canvas. So that's, and it's got dandelions. Perk. Foxes and dandelions. Y'all know I love that. So that was a sweet gift from my mother for Christmas, and apparently a keychain that I never even saw. And then Emily, who we've already mentioned, got me, she actually gets a lot of mention in the previous video as well. I did, if you didn't see it, a review of, maybe not a review, a recommendation, a go through, I don't even know what it would be called, a stack of all of our children's, our favorite knit and crochet, fiber arts, craft related picture books, storybooks for kids, because like I said, I do homeschool and we read a ton. So I made a little roundup of all of our favorite knit adjacent, crochet adjacent children's books, and a lot of them had been gifted to me by Emily, and she got me another one for Christmas called What Will These Hands Make? And I forget who it's by, but I can list it. So she gifted us that as well. And this is the first time she's lived in the same state as me for like 10 years, so it's been great. And then she got me some stitch markers. I just saved this because I want to tell you where they were from. Stitch markers from, what is the shop? Seashell Crafter on Etsy. Spelled just like you think. Seashell Crafter. She got me some sweet little fox stitch markers. You may have seen one of them is hanging out on my Daft Days cardigan, just being cute. There's a purple one. This is a generous honkin' bunch of little foxes. Generous honkin' bunch of foxes is a sentence I just said. All these sweet little fox charms, and they're the little round lever back ones. So you can use them as progress keepers, stitch markers, and it's on this little loop. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, there's like 8 or 10 of them or something, a whole bunch. Those, and then it came with this sweet little sticker as well. The crochet hook and a skein in a vase. So those are my crafty Christmas presents. And I think that's all I have to share with you. This video is going on well over an hour. So if you made it to the end, congratulations, you're awesome. I appreciate you. You probably didn't make it though, and I'm talking to probably no one. Cool. Like I said, I'm going to film that separate giveaway video and hopefully have that up in a week or so when you're watching this one. And then I would love to do a yarn room tour because I have footage of that I just never posted. And yeah, I would like to get more content going up in the new year now that we're through Christmas and Vlogmas and all of that, and getting in kind of a more rhythm with sleeping and whatnot with my kids. My son's going on 16 months, so he's a little bigger now, and I feel like I can kind of get back into the designing and the contenting a little bit more, hopefully maybe in 2024. So I hope you guys are off to a great start of your new year, and yeah, I don't have any like, these are my knitting plans for the year. My plan is to make stuff that I love and be with my family. That's it. Those are my plans. There you go. But yeah, I hope to talk to you soon. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'd love to know your thoughts on character hats, on fad patterns, on scarfy shawls, on hand-dyeing yarn, and favorite baby makes. All of it. Tell me your thoughts below, and I will catch you in episode 69 coming up soon. Hopefully sooner rather than later, so it's not as long as this one. But thanks for sticking it out with me. Talk to you soon.